Hello, welcome back to another episode of my podcast. It has been a little while. I'm recording a week later than I normally would have. I've had some things come up dealing with some hand pain with knitting, crocheting, and I'm not really sure what's causing it because outside of changing the kind of yarn that I'm working with, I've been knitting and crocheting about the amount that I usually do, and a couple weeks ago it just became where it felt like it was going to be an issue. So I've been crocheting and knitting a little bit here and there between my last podcast and now, but for the most part I've been trying to do other things, take a break and see if that helps my hands. And then they were feeling maybe kind of back to normal, and then I ended up sawing into my knuckle with a bread knife. So replacing one hand pain with another, it has been an eventful couple of weeks. So here we are today. I have a few things to update you on, but for the most part it's not going to be a whole lot of difference between what you would have saw last time. That's just the way it goes. So no FOs this week, but I did want to share. This is my Back to Scarf Dragonflight by Svetlana Gordon, and I did finish this a while ago now, and I know I've showed it on the podcast, but I can't remember if I wore it, so I just thought I would wear it today, show it off a little bit in all of its glory. This is the Night Fury and Light Fury yarn by Bad Wolf Girl Sits and Knits, and I wanted to have those two play together in a project, and I chose this one because it looks like dragon scales. So we had like a weird, it didn't stick or anything, but a weird snowstorm this morning, and it's a little chilly, and I just thought I would put it on for coziness sake and because I knew I'd be recording this. So we're just gonna go ahead and jump right into the whips. And first off, I wanted to show some progress on my tulip wrap tank by Knititude. I have it in my project bag by Lila Styles. Super cute, Harry Potter themed. It has like the little potion bottles and sorting hat, mostly potion bottles, but I see some other things on here. There's a little mandrake. Really cute. I think this is the project that caused me to have my hand pain, to be honest. It's my first time working with Trubu, and I'm using metal needles because that is the only interchangeable, well, actually those are the only knitting needles that I own. And I think that first off, I flew through the first panel, and because of the way that I feel like I need to hold it when I'm working with it to keep it from sliding off, I think that put extra pressure on my hands. But I love the yarn, I love the drape. Shoot, I can't remember which is the right side. Oh, the knit side hurt. So this is the second half. I've done one front half. This is the second front half. So I guess this is the left half that'll be on this side of my body. And then I have the back panel, but I'm in love with this yarn and the way it feels. I just want to like touch this project all the time. And I overdid it on the front half because I think I finished it in like a week, which is nuts for me. So I'm pretty sure that's the culprit. So I haven't touched this as much. This is probably what I started this a couple weeks ago and just have been doing like a row or two here and there, and that's all I've been doing at a time. But I'm still very excited. It is part of my Make 9 for 2021, and I'm doing it now so that I have it for when it starts getting hot, because it will be hot before we know it, and it'll be nice to have some summer clothes to wear. Nextly, I'm going to share my update on my Jimmy Bean's craft event from 2020. I talk about it every week, but I'm working on it with my mom. She's making the cool tone version and I'm making the warm tone version. We're both making the knit pattern. And it is the Tidings to You by Amy Gunderson. And we've only did a couple of rows this last weekend, but we started a new section. And I realized I've been doing my yarn overs wrong. I don't really know if it matters in crochet, but turns out it matters in knitting, and I was yarning over the same way I do in crochet. And so all of this has yarn overs, and you can kind of see the gaps, and it'll show up a little bit more when I block. But look at the difference between the old yarn overs, where you don't really see a whole lot. And bam, here's my new yarn overs. I'm hoping that shows up okay on camera. I can see a little bit better from my side because it's looking out into light, but there are holes all over here because of the lovely lace work. And I'm just floored. And honest, like, all I want to do is work on this because I just want to see how the lace develops now that I know I'm not doing it wrong. So very excited to pick that back up this weekend and continue working through it. We are on the 5th color, so that is where we're at. I don't know how many sections we have left to do, but we are making progress. And because I was doing so much knitting, and right now knitting is hurting my hands more than crochet, I needed to pick up a crochet project. So I started with the last project, the last podcast, I had just started my turn tunic dress made by Haley Bailey. And I'm using Premier Cotton, I think is the name of it. It's a 2-weight yarn. And so I have the front panel done. It falls at about my waist. I tried to, let me see. Yeah, it falls about my waist, but I stopped it a little above because I know this will kind of, once the dress is added, it'll kind of stretch out a little bit. Surprisingly, this yarn did not change much for me when I wet blocked it. So, like, that's good in the fact that I can kind of rely on what I'm making here and feel pretty confident in what it ends up being later on. But also I just know that based on the other dress I made, it's gonna drag because the skirt's gonna add weight. So hoping that it will still fall in a nice place on my waist even after the dress is added. I am making this a dress and not just like a tunic top. So I'm currently like an inch or two into the back panel, and then it gets seamed together, and then the dress gets added from there. And then, let's see, the last width that I have to share is one that I think I had just cast on with my last podcast and decided I had enough to share last time, so I didn't share it. Plus I didn't have a whole lot to share on it. But it is my knit test. I was telling myself that I wasn't going to do any tests until I got further along on my Make 9 and on some other things that I'm working on behind the scenes. But I saw this top that Knitway put out, and that is the same designer that I did my very first test knit for, and knew that I had to test it because not only is it a gorgeous garment, it also combines knit and crochet together. So I think most of it is knit, and then there's some like pretty detailing on the edges but it ends up being crochet. So, oh, in my Rose City yarn crawl bag from this year, this hefty, beautiful backpack bag, I have put in all of my yarn for it. And I decided to try out Kobu, because I hadn't tried that out yet. So Trubu was one on my list, and Kobu was another on my list, because they were really big last year, and I think now that it's getting warmer, people are getting back into using them. So the yarns that I really wanted to try out, and my Walmart had Kobu, which I was very surprised. They do carry quite a bit of Lion brand, but still, I was very surprised to see it there. And I bought this beautiful navy color. So this is what I have so far. It's being constructed from the top down. Yeah, so the cast on edge toward the bottom is actually up where my shoulders and top of my back are going to be when it wears, so it'll actually wear upside down. And this is where I'm at. It's going to be like an oversized drapey tunic type garment, and it has like a little sash that helps cinch it at the waist, and it's just so pretty, and I'm excited to have this blue in my wardrobe. So I'll have more on that later, just because right now it's pretty much stockinette stitch, and I think that's probably actually the majority of what it ends up being. But I feel like until I start working more like on the actual construction of it, versus right now it's just kind of like a rectangle, it'll look more like a garment, and right now it's just kind of not very exciting because there's not a whole lot to show you. But I'm almost at the point where I start the next section, and then we'll see where that goes from there. So that is my whips. I do have some mail that I thought I would show. I'm going to start with this. Make sure I grab the right thing. So Cape May Fiber Co. released basically like an open pre-order for naturally dyed yarn that is dyed with daffodils. And daffodils are my favorite flower. There's some others that are up there, but daffodils beat them all. And when I heard that they naturally dye yarn with daffodils, like how could I not get that yarn? So this is what it ended up looking like. Like, I just cannot believe that this beautiful yarn came from my favorite flower. So I bought 2 skeins of fingering weight. Yeah, it's a sock yarn, because I actually ended up pairing it with yarn that I had in my stash. It's a set of minis that I got from the Frosted Stitch, and I have a project picked out for it, but I didn't have the main color that I would need for this shawl. It's like I didn't write down what it was called because I didn't think I was going to really talk about it much, but it has stripes of like mini colors and then like a main color on each side, and I think it's kind of like a triangle. So, sorry, it's going to be loud. This is the set of mini skeins I have. It is the season set that came out last year. So there's 8 mini skeins, 2 for each season, and the shawl itself only does like 6 colors, I think. So I would need to modify a little bit to have the 8 colors fit in there. But essentially I'm just going to have these alternate. I think I'm going to keep them in season order. There's 1 solid and 1 variegated for each season. And I'm going to keep them together in, you know, spring through winter. And then on each side, I mean, those colors all coordinate together because they're nature. Yellow will definitely coordinate with all of them because all you have to do is think of like the sun. It all goes together, so I thought this would be really pretty to have on each side of those colors. it'll be a contrast too, because you have some darker colors in the seasons and then you have this really pretty light outside. So we'll see. That is my plan, at least in my brain, and that was the intention I had when I bought this. It's just a matter of what actually happens when I get to the point where I work it up. So that is my first mail item. And then my second item is a kit that just arrived this week, over the weekend. But it is actually from my local yarn shop, and this is only my second purchase from them, but I've been following them for a very long time. And they had a massive sale that I definitely took advantage of and bought a kit. And it came in this, let me show you the bag first. So the shop's called The Yarn Underground, and it came in this cute little tote. And the colors, I'm just pulling them out. I haven't decided what I was going to make with them yet. But this was one of their kits that had caught my eye for a while. The greens are really pretty. Let's see, we have Understory and Essence, and Airstream, and Truly Marissa. So a really pretty palette. I started following Casapinka like late last fall, and that designer does so many like mystery knit-alongs and has so many fun patterns that call for like sets of fingering weight, and I don't have a lot of fingering weight. I don't work with it a whole lot. I'm starting to work with it a bit more, but I thought it would be a fun way. So I have this kit from the Yarn Underground and another kit from them as well that's all fingering weight, and I think I want to keep the other one together, but I figured this would give me some fun colors to either use together or maybe split up and pair with some other things if there's one of those knit-alongs that I have strong enough feelings to start. I really want to participate one at some point, so I'm just kind of building up my fingering weight stash so that I have some options when it comes time that there's something that I really want to dive into. So, fun kit. I'm happy to add this to my collection. When am I not happy to add yarn to my collection? So, the last thing that I want to share today is a sneak peek of the yarn I'm dyeing for the, let me make sure I get the name right, Traveling Seasons Afghan. So right now I have the spring yarn that I dyed up on my YouTube channel. I have filmed clips for all of the other colors that I've dyed, but I have not finished any of those other videos, and I haven't shared the colors anywhere else yet, I don't think. But I thought it would be fun to share like a sneak peek here, checking my time, just to kind of have something else to share for that project, because it'll be spread out throughout the year. Tentatively right now I'm planning on finishing the summer. I have the clips filmed for the summer yarn, but I haven't started the first square of the summer row just released a week ago, so I haven't made it yet, and I want at least one square done for the video that's showing the process of dyeing the yarn, just so I can show what it looks like worked up at least one square. So I have one caked up, which is the one I'm going to show today. The other one I do need to cake up so I can alternate skeins and start that first square. So this is the spring yarn that has already been shown on my channel. This is the yarn I caked up for summer. It's a little more green than I originally wanted, but as I'll explain in that summer yarn video, I struggled with that one, so this is the one I ended up choosing out of my different experiments. And then I have, this is going to be harder to hold up than I thought, my fall color. Excuse the zip tie still on it. And then I have to figure out something else here to get winter. This is my palette. Essentially it'll look like this in the blanket. I think they work really well together. Normally these colors are not something that I would have put together, but I really wanted to take the project a step further by dyeing yarn inspired by the seasons. And these are the colors I came up with. So they are pretty much a solid. There's a little bit of variation to them because that's just the way things go. But for the most part, they're fairly solid. So those are my colors. Summer's video I'll be posting tentatively sometime in May. And then fall I'll probably do, let's see, April, May, June is set for summer squares. So I guess that means the fall one would probably be sometime in July, but I might push out to August. And then the winter one would be maybe November. I'll post the winter video. So that's where I'm at. It's been a fun project. I really want to start. I've seen the summer square. Just with the break I've been trying to give my hands, I haven't been able to fully cake up the yarn because that was too painful. And then I haven't been able to work on it. So we'll get there. That is all I have to share today though. Lots of whips that have just kind of been sitting around or having very slow progress made on them. Because I think the turn tunic, I think I almost had that done the last time I filmed anyway. And I think I just needed to do the shoulders. So that is why I didn't film a week ago. I just felt like I wanted to try and see if I could get a little more to show you with an extra week. And we'll see how it goes. My hands feel at times like they're almost back to normal. I'm gonna get some gloves that are supposed to help. They're tighter, they help compress your hands. And that's supposed to help. I don't know. I've never tried them, so we'll see where that goes. I'm waiting for them to arrive, and then I'll be giving that a try. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Hopefully you are still enjoying this content. If there's something else you'd like to see, I recently posted a tutorial that was crochet related, but crossed over with my other hobby of working with polymer clay. I have my Traveling Seasons series, I'll call it that I'll be posting throughout the year. Otherwise, I'm just kind of letting my projects take me wherever. I mean, I do have a plan. Even though there's so many fun new designs that are coming out or being called, having calls for tests, I'm trying really hard to stay on task, especially now that I haven't really been able to crochet or knit for a couple weeks. I feel like that's really put me behind. I'm trying not to let that bother me, but I have 3 summer projects that I want to get going on. And then I want to start in some color work sweaters for the fall. and kind of gets going on that, you know, sometime over the summer so that they're done by the time things start getting chillier. So we'll see. There's lots that I have in my head, and I'm trying not to get distracted by the pretty new things, but that's hard. Hope you're doing well, and I will talk to you soon.